Hello everyone, welcome to Amali Community. This is our second episode and today we have a very interesting guest. With me is Professor Mohamed Bakari. He's a chairman of Wasomi Africa, a professor who was taught at the UON, at QUER, at KU for all the students that we have in this community from there. Before moving to Istanbul, that is in 1988, a diverse career consolidated of a lot when it comes to his career path. He is also the founder of Professor Mohamed Bakari Foundation, which is a philanthropic perspective in a collection of books, an array that you have not seen before, which you're going to highlight in the course of this interview. He has also been the Vice Chancellor of RAF International University, which is currently the Islamic University of Kenya, and we have such a lovely topic to work on today, and I'd love to invite Professor to talk to us and we could get to the topic of the day. So Professor, karibu sana.
Thank you very much for having me. There's a lot of apprehension about the youth, and there has always been a conflict between generations because on the one hand parents want to create the children in their own image, and the children try to resist and create their own image. So, and I mean, we know this from writings on generational conflict. There's the famous novel by Turgenev called Fathers and Sons. And this was at a time when the Soviet, Russia was looked down upon and considered as backward relative to Europe proper.
Yeah.
So the young people wanted to change the situation, and because of that, this led to a conflict between fathers and the sons.
And the sons.
Yes, because the fathers wanted a more natural, progressive change in society, but the young people wanted a change, and they wanted change now. So naturally, you know, that would bring some kind of conflict. And then the older generation, because of its experience, what it has gone through, would like to moderate these young people, because otherwise this can lead to unnecessary disaster. Like, for example, they might be forced to join some ideological groups that can push them, you know, to extremes. And parents are aware of what might happen to the children, you know, when they fall into the wrong kinds of groups. There's the famous anecdote about A.J.P. Taylor, who was an Oxford professor. When he was going for the job, he was asked whether he held any extreme views. He said, yes, I do have extreme views, but I hold my extreme views in moderation. So any parent, want their children actually to have that kind of attitude, because if they don't do that, they will inevitably end up in one kind of disaster or another. And this has been also a subject of fiction, open discussions, and we can see this from the works of novelists, essayists. They have looked at this particular issue. The problem is that again, fathers want the children, to take a particular line, and there's a famous story of a British intellectual and journalist called Gissing, who the father tried very much to make sure that he becomes a moral person, a religious person, but he persisted so much that the young man Gissing ended up actually becoming an atheist. So parents have to be a bit cautious in what in how they are handling their children.
Do you think that such relations right now currently between our parents and the young people, might it be the reasons as to why we're having the youth as they are right now, either comparatively very rowdy, or they either choose to transgress, and I prefer to be more of as a stubborn child, since I do not have an understanding with a parent? Is there a way we could structure such conversations within our families to ensure that there is a good relation between us and the parents?
Yeah, it's very important, for parents to always be as close to the children as possible. Treat them, with respect, because children also deserve respect, and when parents respect the children, then the children will reciprocate also in the same way, and then they will treat other people the same way. But if you are always finger pointing, then that will inevitably alienate the children, and then they'll take to extreme position. So it's very, very important, that people become moderate, in their dealings.
Professor, I'd want us to head over to a section I think you're very well conversed with, and that is the reading. I think behind us we can see a whole collection of books, and I should mention that you have your own books well done and articulated, and they're in the Kenyan market, which I think is something young people should really check into. There has been a sequential need, or rather an uprise, especially in social media, of people wanting to get into reading, of people wanting to read self-help groups, self-help books in general, and there is a very thin line between getting to know which books to read, getting to know what interests you in reading, and developing the discipline when it comes to reading, taking care of books, as you were educating me on it earlier. There's so many structures when it comes to the reading culture. If we could go through it, I think young people really look forward to studying, but then what necessarily do we study, and how should we go about it?
Reading and writing are just essential for any society. In fact, you judge the level of society on the basis of how literate the society is, and how well educated the society is. And there is a clear relationship between the level of the development of a society and its reading culture. everyone has a reading culture, because we can read, but the problem is we don't know exactly what to read. So in some societies, there are institutions that pay attention to this kind of thing. Like, for example, in America, you have the New York Review of Books, and in Britain, you have the London Review of Books, which draw the attention of the general public, or at least the serious reading public, about latest research, latest books that have been written. And on the basis of that, then the people go out and seek them out. They buy the physical books, or through devices that they can access these books. Of course, we have not reached that level, but that doesn't mean that some individuals can do that. And once they do that, then they pass on that culture, to the general public. Reading is so essential, just like breathing. You can't separate these two things. And if you have a reading culture, you are really alive, because you are exposed to so many things that otherwise, you might be unable to experience. So through reading, you experience these things vicariously. Reading is almost everything, in advanced societies.
Yeah.
Like if you look at a society like Japan, there is no illiterate person in that society. And that is because literacy is fundamental to that society. And look at their level of development.
Development, even in technology.
Absolutely, technology, yes. And that doesn't mean that, if you read about other societies, you will imitate, aspects of those societies. Of course, there's nothing wrong in imitating the positive aspects of those societies. But in general, people tend to be attracted to the negative aspects. Yeah, and we cannot dismiss the internet, as a destructive thing. No, because the internet is in fact a parallel world to the physical and real world in which we live in. So the internet is not about pornography. It's only individuals, who don't know how to use their time, and who don't know how to respect themselves. They would engage in those kinds of activities. But on the whole, people are wiser than what we imagine them. So I would advise young people, to develop a serious reading culture, because that's the only way that they can improve their intellectual horizons. Because without that, I don't see any way how they can become productive members of society.
Okay. I wanted to ask, you are the chairman of Wasomi Africa as of now. Is there something you've noticed amongst the youth, or rather, is there amicable measures you think we could put in place to sort of try and empower young people into a reading culture? Because I think nowadays people barely read newspapers. Everything is definitely online, and you find that soft copy books that are online, it's difficult for you to finish because, again, as you said, distractions. Are there measures that maybe as a whole we the youth can put in place to ensure all of us sort of put ourselves together to like grow the same culture?
I think reading has very many dimensions, and the only way that you can attract people is to have a diversity of themes, issues that they can read, but they have to be introduced, to these diversities of readings and opinions. And it doesn't mean that if you read particular things, then you are going to be unduly influenced, by those, because you don't have to want to become an atheist, to read what atheists think. But we can't wish them away. They will always be there. So it's important, for us to look at their mindsets, or what drives people, to that kind of ideology. And as I said earlier, there was this case of Gissing, very famous for his Grab Street, that talks about journalism, and and he was a classic case because the mother was always insisting on religion. Always, she was American, and the father was English, and a very close associate of Huxley. The Brave New World person.
Yes.
So he became so. When the mother died, the father took over. The function. But he kept on insisting. On that religious dimension, that Gissing rebelled against that and became a prominent atheist. But he was not the kind of atheist that you would loathe. He's a kind of rational person, who would like to put his point of view and be listened to, and which doesn't mean that he was not amenable to going back, to what he was. And I think the same thing with young people. So that's just a temporary grandstanding, if you like, but later all of us change. I was a rebel myself also. And so has everybody been. But once you come to your senses, then you are able to discriminate, between what is positive, what is good, and what is dangerous, and what is regressive, for you.
Professor, you are educated on linguistics as a whole, and I'd definitely want to ask, what led you, what inspired you to get into this career?
I think I would just say that this was my qadar, fate, because when I went to university, I wanted, one of the people I admired was Professor Ali Mazrui, so I wanted to become a political scientist and become a public intellectual. But I was approached by Professor Mohamed Abdulaziz, who established the Department of Linguistics at the University of Nairobi. He persuaded me, to take linguistics, because this was a bit baffling, because linguistics was never taught in high school. It's a university discipline, and then because Professor Abdulaziz also taught me in high school. So out of respect, I said, okay, Prof, I will take this. And I don't actually regret it, because it has given me an intellectual view, of language, that in fact language is not only unique to human beings, but this is what makes us human. And ironically, no other creatures, have language.
Yeah.
Not in the sense, creative use of language. Like, for example, the parrots can parrot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can't create language. But with human beings, even the most mentally deranged individual, has access to language. They speak the language. So there's this uniqueness about language. But when it comes to careers, honestly, whatever one studies, is as good as any other. But we tend to push our kids, to do medicine,
the traditional courses.
or engineering, as if these other humanities and social sciences have no place, in human society.
Yeah.
But like, for example, the Americans have discovered that these are extremely essential disciplines. Like, you can't become a professional, an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor without having a first degree. So you must have a first degree.
Yes.
So if you're in the sciences, then you have to do you have to do an elective, in the humanities. And if you're in the humanities, you have to do an elective in the sciences.
Yes.
So this creates a balance in the individuals, and that is why people like Obama, they're just not accidentally articulate and informed. It was through the use of particular and definite decision, to educate oneself. And if you know anything about Obama, he was imitating Cicero.
Yes.
Cicero was his hero, in terms of argumentation, and although he ended up badly. But that is inevitable, because as somebody said, all political careers end in disaster, including mine, or end in failure, including mine, because these people tend to stay for too long, and then people get fed up with them, or they get stuck in a particular mental mode that people have moved and they're still stuck, in the positions in which they are in.